So
So do you have a preferred side?
what do you guys think?
Left
Shouldn't
or
have a
right?
bad side.
No bad side.
Oh,
Exactly.
There we go. You sit right here.
Okay. Cool.
These stools are as cold as Iceland.
This is brings me back. Right to night country.
All right, welcome to a conversation with Kali Reis. We're really glad that you could be here tonight.
Thank you.
My name is Lisa Seabury. I'm the new INCH Executive Director at the San Miguel Resource Center. For those of you who don't know, the Resource Center supports and advocates for survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. And we also work in the schools on violence prevention and healthy behaviors. And together with our incredibly dedicated, incredible volunteers, some of who are here tonight, we run a 24-hour hotline that allows people that are in crisis to get the help that they need. We work with many organizations in our community to uplift survivors and help them not only survive, but thrive. And in case you missed the 500 emails in your inbox, today is Colorado Gives Day. Whether it's SMRC or another deserving nonprofit in our community, I hope that everyone will consider digging deep and making a contribution to the organizations that really make this community work. Social justice organizations are not expecting funding to go up in the near future. So at the exit, we have some postcards with a QR code to make it really easy should you be moved by Kali's talk tonight to make a contribution. And whether it's $20 or $20,000, we really, really appreciate you helping us keep our doors open. Events like this don't happen without the whole community taking part. There are a few people that I want to call out especially. Annie Carlson and Cindy Festing from the Telluride Science and Innovation Center to donate this incredible space tonight. I know I got a lot of emails saying, oh, I haven't been there yet, and it's such an amazing venue. We really appreciate that. Becca Tudor from Fuel Gym, who has hosted Kali's workouts. Paul Harvey from Mountain Limo for bringing Kali to Telluride from Montrose. David and Katie Dove for donating Kali's accommodation. Kodo FM for helping us publicize this event. The Telluride Daily Planet for their incredible story about Kali, who is indeed a hero. Keith Hill for filming tonight's event. Josh King and Abby Livesay for tonight's photography. Rosie Kuzak for moderating tonight's discussion. Liza Cooney for her great job with the high school event this afternoon. The SMRC Board of Directors for their ever-present and ongoing support. But the biggest thanks of all goes to Anna Bowling, who has worked tirelessly to bring Kali here and to make this event happen. So Kali knows a thing or two about overcoming hardship. She's faced incredible challenges from a young age, and through grit and determination, she has emerged as a successful professional boxer and actor whose award nominations are piling up. This summer, she received an Emmy nomination. A couple of weeks ago, she received a Critics' Choice nomination. And just yesterday, she received a Golden Globe nomination. So we're so excited.
Thank you.
But most importantly, she uses her platform as an activist for human rights, especially with regard to murdered and missing Indigenous women. Our moderator tonight is Rosie Kuzak. Rosie is a longtime resident of Telluride and is deeply committed to this community. Over the years, she's worked for nearly all the nonprofits in the Telluride region, contributing in various capacities to support local causes. Whether it's lending her time or resources, Rosie is always ready to help those in need and is known for her strong community spirit. She's the founder and owner of real estate and luxury rentals in Telluride. She's a Kodo radio personality, and she's probably already known to most everyone in this room. Thank you, Rosie, for agreeing to moderate tonight.
Ah,
Over to you guys.
Well, thank you so much.
Kali.
Felt like I was like on display as I was sitting here.
Right?
That was very weird.
That's not a bad thing.
No,
That's
do
not
I
a bad
need
thing
this?
at all.
Do I got a mic?
Yeah, you got a mic right here. You have one under your coat, like a secret agent.
Have other things in
Let's
my
tighten
coat.
it up. Let's tighten it up over here a little bit. Is this good for those?
Can you
Everybody?
guys hear me?
No, we can't hear. Okay. I'm gonna turn this up. Okay.
Hello, hello. Check 1, 2.
The
Check 1, 2.
volume.
I can talk really loud. I'm from Northeast, so I can get really, really loud. If y'all don't need the mics, it's okay.
Right? How's that?
Can you hear me? Hear
Kaylee,
me
we
now?
can do this also.
Yeah. Okay.
We can do that.
Oh, you about to give me the
Like Taylor Swift.
Don't give
like,
me the
let's
mic.
Taylor Swift this situation.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you what, you guys,
like
I've
this
had a lot
better.
of good days here in Telluride, but never as cool as today was. I'll tell you that right now. This organization is, okay, I didn't know all this. I met all these people today. I felt like I was in like Crested Butte or something. I was like, who's that? But the San Miguel Resource Center has been around for a long time. How many years? All right, a lot. Who's counting?
A lot is an official number. I'll tell you a lot. A lot sounds good.
A lot is
A lot is a lot.
a lot. Well, listen, speaking of a lot, I just want to say accolades to the organization. Very cool to meet you all. And wow, this is really incredible. Then there's this one over here who is so cool. I feel like we could just pick any topic and we would just go with it.
I'm here for it all. Like, you,
Right.
you let me know, Rosie. Let's go.
So I don't know where to start. I said, what's it like being a drug dealer or salesperson?
We're gonna be professional here. I was a salesperson of the cannabis. I tried to sell weed. I did.
11.
I was 11.
But I said, how'd that go? And you said,
Terrible. It went terrible. I was a terrible drug dealer. But
that's the best news.
yeah, no, it was. Is that your question? Is that your first question?
Listen, it's not going to get better. So
No, we're gonna. You know, you guys
know,
are
I just
ski
said-
community. It's gonna go all downhill from here.
that was good.
Hey, I'm here all
Pun
night, guys.
intended.
Yes.
You are a lot of things. Indigenous. You tell us. Tell us how you identify.
So first of all, I'd like to say Munikisuk, which means greetings, Mwamina Tonkasak, all my relations. Nitasuis Mkwinanog, which means my name, my given name is many feathers, many talents. Nutama Sikanka Wapanaak, which means I am from the Seekonk people, and I am from Providence, Rhode Island, and it's a privilege for me to be, as a mixed Indigenous woman, to even be speaking my language out loud right now. It's really a kind of a historic moment, and every chance I get, I like to try to speak my language. So I'd also like to teach you guys a phrase in my language. You know, we use thank you. I think I know thank you in like German. I know thank you in Icelandic. But I want to teach you thank you because I'm very, very thankful for being here tonight amongst you guys to talk to you. So how we say thank you is Tabutni. So
Tabutni.
Tabutni. That means thank you. It's very easy. So, you know, Tabutni. Tabutni for having me here.
Nice.
This has been great.
Thank you for being here. Let's
thank
have a
you.
big round of applause, first of all, just like,
Tabutni.
no, for real. I met a lot of cool people, but you might be right at the
I
top.
don't know if I'm as cool as your glasses, though. I'm feeling those shades,
Are
man.
you-
I like the frames.
You're
I
like,
really-
here, try mine.
Oh,
See how they look.
let me see. What do you think,
How are
guys?
your eyes?
Holy wow! I just went to another dimension, but I feel like the frames.
Well, that's what we try to do here in
I
Telluride.
am blind as hell. Now, how I identify is I am from the Seekonk people, so I'm sure you guys heard of the Wampanoag Nation. It's first Thanksgiving. Our history is a lot different than the rest of Native American history because we're from the First Contact people, from the First Contact tribe. So I identify as being from the Seekonk. I'm Seekonk Wampanoag, and I'm Cape Verdean. In a very surface level, we have this new identification as Afro-Indigenous, which is basically Black and Indigenous or Black and Native. I've been called Blindian. My friends have made up these weird names for me. I think identity is a huge not issue, but a huge talking point, especially as of now, whether it's race, culture, pronouns, etc. But I always feel as though, because people think I'm Puerto Rican because I look like I could be so many things, but I take every opportunity to tell people I'm Seekonk Wampanoag. I'm from the Wampanoag people, and Cape Verdean is a very specific place. No one outside of New England pretty much knows what Cape Verdean is. It is a cluster of islands off the west coast of Africa, but it's very prominent in the Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut area. So that's how I identify as.
How about that young man at the high school today? He knew.
Yeah, he did know. There was
that
one
was crazy.
that impressed me, because every time I go outside of New England, I say Cape Verde, and they're like, what? Like Cape Verde, and then I just tell them to just Google it because it's kind of upsetting. But it's a very rich culture. I mean, I think we're going into almost our 50th year of independence. They haven't had independence for a long time. I don't know too much history about being Cape Verdean, because the way I grew up was basically in a household where I am what I would call a first generation of my line, of especially my mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, that was growing up in the native culture, where my mom was just reconnecting to a culture. Then she had me, so I learned from a baby. And my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my mother wasn't even allowed to do that. From where I come from, my direct line, even saying you a Wampanoag, you could get killed on the spot. There was actual law that got abolished maybe in the late 90s, early 2000s. And, you know, Massachusetts in my line was actually part of a sundown town, a sundown place, which means if you were Wampanoag and you worked in Massachusetts for a family, first of all, you didn't say you were Wampanoag because it'd be bad for the family that you worked with. And you had to get your ass back home before the sun goes down, because it could be problems. So every chance I get, I speak about who I am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
You ever have those feelings like, I should go back to high school? Something like that.
Oh, that
like,
was a terrible time. Why would you want to go back to high school?
Well, no, because the whole Wampanoag, I didn't even know. I don't know.
Well,
I'm from Michigan. I mean, we got Chippewas, and I know that culture.
Yeah, I know, but what's
Right?
crazy is about our American history is New England is called New England for a reason. It's like so simple, and the fact that they don't teach us in schools is actually, you know, we're trying to change the narrative now, but you know, we held the colonizers about 200-300 years before they started making their way this way. So the fact that they teach, you know, other history versus the history that really started this country is baffling to me. And the fact that I get questioned about how indigenous I am is insanity. The fact that I know who I am, and I am very mixed up. I got all kinds of things in my DNA, but the fact that I can trace my line directly to the people is like a testament. I wouldn't change it. I don't wish I was more indigenous. I don't wish I was this. I just really find a lot of empowerment knowing exactly where I come from.
Love that. Anybody have a question right this second? I want to make sure. All right. No, I mean, this is just open, chill
Yeah.
chat. Chill chat.
Firstly, thank you so much for being here, and I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on the backlash that we've seen with so many movements to center Indigenous history and culture, and you know how you've dealt with that, if you've experienced the backlash.
Oh man, the
People
backlash.
banning,
Yeah.
you know, classes like that, stuff like that.
I mean, just as of recently, I saw, I forgot what state it was in, but it was a book on the Wampanoag history written by a Wampanoag tribal member that got like taken out of libraries because it was fiction. I'm like, what? That's written from a person from the nation. Like, it's an interesting, and that's a whole nother trip to Telluride to talk about that. But it's amazing the way, you know, not even just culture or history. It's amazing what they will put out. The powers that be will put out. They want to paint the narrative they want you to believe, and they're trying to basically shadow the very people of the land and the history that made this, that was here before this America was America. You know what I mean? My history goes back before America was America. I mean, they settled here in the 1500s. My ancestors were chilling, and they were like, who are these people? Like, are they, you know what I mean? So the backlash that I've personally, I will speak on my own experience, is being of mixed heritage, being from a tribe that is only state recognized and is also about to lose their state recognition and trying to seek dual recognition because our tribal citizens mostly live in Rhode Island. It is such a, it's kind of disheartening because I shouldn't have to prove who I am in order to get benefits of the land that my ancestors occupied. I can say that the biggest backlash, and it's kind of like a sideswipe, is our proving who we are. Like our blood quantum. I'll give you that for a great example. Blood quantum, besides natives, the only other people that have to, or the only other being that has to prove who they are dogs. Like us and dogs are the only people that have to prove who we are through blood. And that should kind of paint a picture to you. So that is the type of backlash that I personally experienced. And then you get to the area of being federally recognized, being state recognized, how indigenous that makes you. But that is so not indigenous, or as far as if you're from a federally or state recognized tribe, it's such a mix, and it's such a mixed bag, and a very deep mixed bag of people trying to do what's best for the nation or for the culture, but then they get caught up in that whole, colonialism of blood quantum. Well, how indigenous are you? Are you part of a federally recognized tribe? So from my own experience, that is the backlash of having to try to prove to people who I am, that I aren't even from where I'm from. I get people from West Coast asking me who my people are, and you're not Native. I'm like, I don't know who you are. Once you go back to my community and sit down with my elders. So it's been an interesting navigation, and then trying to set the tone for everybody else who's not indigenous. We got all eyes on us right now. Everybody's watching how we move, especially for all this movement with film industry, everything that you see indigenous people. It's kind of like we need to definitely act right and do it the right way and for the right reasons. And I don't speak for every indigenous person. I'm only, Kali Reis from Rhode Island, from the Seekonk Wampanoag tribe. So it's a collective effort, but it's a big collective to try to represent. Yeah.
All right. Only Kali. That's it. Let's go back a little bit. Kali is a boxer. It's not just any boxer. 2-time.
6-time.
Okay, or 6.
6-time, 2 weight classes.
What's going on here? 6-time, like I said.
Yeah,
like
I
2
heard
plus
you.
4.
I heard you.
2 plus 4 is 6.
Yeah.
So 6-time boxer. Let's talk about how that started, and that was around the age of, I'm not even going to say the number. Go ahead.
So you're just going to leave it up to me?
I was going to say.
What's on your little paper over there?
Listen, look at all the papers I have. I have papers.
No, you came prepared.
I have my iPhone 1 over here with a bunch of questions on it.
I'm looking for the iPad.
And then it's so cold.
Is there gonna be
one in a second? And then it's so cold, my iPhone 1 started dying on the way here. I'm like, oh no. But then I'm like, it's Kali Reis. I don't have to have any questions.
Nah, man, I can
Just
take
do
it
it.
from here.
I want to talk about boxing. Boxing. You grew up on the other side of Providence, tough situation. Is that where it comes from? I already know the answer, but tell this group of people that you started to box to take yourself into a place, right?
Yeah.
Defend yourself maybe, but not really. It's so interesting how you say it. I don't know. You started boxing because, first of all, you're a badass, okay?
I didn't know I was a badass.
But you can't just say, oh yeah, Kali Reis, she's a badass. You can't just say that. You gotta say all the other stuff. So you started boxing, and then you ended up being amazing, and are amazing.
That wasn't
With your brother, though.
Well, that wasn't with my brothers. Actually, how I started boxing, I'm one of five kids. I'm the youngest. I call myself the bridge. So my mother has 2 of us. So it's my brother Aaron and myself. My father has, we know, 4 of us, and there's some other ones wandering around. But I am the only child between my father and my mother, and I'm the youngest, so I'm the bridge. And I've seemed to be the bridge with a lot of things down the road, racially, culturally, politically, down the line. So I started boxing. Boxing kind of found me. Kids my age, young little girls, 6, 7 years old, wanted to be like princesses and play with Barbies. I wanted to be the Karate Kid, and I had pictures of Bruce Lee in my room. And my mother was a ballerina, and she's a hairdresser. I had dresses on. I'm playing football with the boys. Like that's how I was. I was a little warrior from the start. I always played sports, but for whatever reason, combat sports is something that I really related to, because a lot of times when I was younger, I was by myself, left in my own thoughts, in my own world, as far as my parents got divorced at 4. Why is my dad gone? What's going on? Is it my fault? Those little things I really had to, I say little things, but those things I had to kind of take into account. And I dealt with it my own. I sided with basketball. That was my brother. I wanted to be, they were my real life superheroes. I wanted to play basketball. They wanted to go to UConn and go to the NBA. I was like, me too. I don't know why, but I want to do what you guys do. They were my father figure when I was a young kid. So boxing found me at a very interesting turning point in my life where team sports were cool, but I had a mouth. I'm from the Northeast. We have a lot to say with our hands, with our mouth. So team sports were great, but with team sports, if you have a bad day, you sub in. You have a bad day, somebody can play for you. I loved combat sports because self accountability. I just love the fact that you couldn't blame anybody if you got your ass kicked in the ring, but you weren't doing the strength and condition, you wasn't running, you wasn't paying attention. You have nobody else to blame but yourself. And I kind of was in a self-blame inadvertently on thinking everything was my fault anyway. So after the age of 12, I hate using the R word, but I did get raped by a kid in my neighborhood that I thought was a friend. And immediately I thought it was my fault. I was afraid. I didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't want to tell my brothers because I thought they were going to beat him up. They would have, and they're still looking for the kid today. But that's neither here nor there. But at that point, with everything going on in my life, be it my sexual identity, not knowing why I was attracted to, not sexually attractive, but like I just always thought the waitress was pretty. I was like, oh, she's pretty. And kind of just having this, being attracted to energy. And that's where the term two-spirit for me is fairly a newer term within the Native community, but two-spirit to me means that I am 100% comfortable in my masculine energy, I'm 100% comfortable in my feminine energy, and I apply where necessary. And I'm not necessarily attracted to just females or males because that's what we do in the bedroom and it's great. It's just the energy exchange and do what I had preferred women over men most of the time, yes, but I am currently married and I'm happily married, and it's just a male body with a great soul. That is my person. I didn't know that was going to be my path. But growing up in a Christian household that was also Native American, I was confused as all hell. So boxing found me with all that going on. Boxing found me where I needed an outlet. Very artistic, very musically inclined. I played the violin, did art, but boxing was a place where when I first went in the gym, coach handed me a jump rope. I'm like, what the hell is this? Handed me a jump rope. He's like, yeah, jump rope for 3 minutes. I'm like, I got this. After 1 minute, I was like, what is this life right now? Why are you guys like the middle of August? But for the first time, that is the only thing I thought about. I wasn't thinking about X, Y, Z, elemental P through Z through everything. I was just thinking about the longest 3 minutes of my life, but that was the first time my mind was quiet and it was just focused on one thing. And also, I'm a Virgo, guys. If there's any Virgos in the crowd. A Virgo or Taurus, because we are very perfectionists, and that was, I love to be competitive with other people, but myself. When I feel as though I'm good at something, I don't just want to be good, I want to be great. So I just took that because it found me where I just had so much anger, I had so much confusion, and the fact that I could find a place other than an alcohol bottle, the gym, that's when I found it. And my first fight, I got my ass kicked by some librarian lady that would like, I was 16, she came in, she was very nice, the bell rang, I forgot everything that I learned. I had a bloody nose, I wanted to shoot her. I was so mad and I lost, but.
How old were you?
I was 15.
Was she your actual librarian?
She was a librarian, she worked at a school. She was a librarian, she was an older lady. 15 to 16. Well, 15, 16, you think everybody's old. So, like, I'm old to the 15, 16-year-olds. But there was a crossroads when I got my ass kicked.
By a librarian.
By a librarian.
I'm telling
everyone.
everyone
Her
I know.
books, I'm still looking for her. But it was I could have chose, this isn't for me. I got my ass kicked. Maybe I should stop now. I didn't choose that, though. I always choose the latter. It's, well, how do I make that not happen again? How do I get better? How do I just progress? And from there, that's what kind of led me into boxing. I didn't have, I want to be the world champion. I wanted to be good. I wanted to be able to have this outlet. And, it was cool that I can go pro and make money. That's cool. I can punch people in the face and make money. But it was very artistic. I look at boxing as an art. You can't, as a kid, as a teenager, you can't drive angry. You can't fight angry. Anything you do out of anger is clouded. anything, no matter what you try to do in anger, it's just not, your judgment's gonna be crowded. If somebody cuts you off, this is very calm over here. It's not like Philly or Rhode Island, but anything you do angry is gonna be clouded. I was so angry as a kid that I had to calm down. I'd get the anger tears, but as soon as I calmed down, found my footing and found my grounding and just really calmed down and looked at it as an art, like, okay, this is an art. Get hit without getting hit. I'm not trying to kill the person, but it's like it's a chess match. That's why a lot of boxers play chess, and I fell in love with learning. And there's no ceiling to boxing ever.
Today, I wish you all could have been there at that high school program. It was so impressive, and the kids were so impressive.
I love kids.
I love kids. Kids are so cool.
They're so honest.
But you were so amazing with them. And going back just a little bit, one of the high school kids asked about what it was like to be you, but having a Christian upbringing pushed onto you and how you were dealing with that. I thought that was a really incredible question.
Yeah, that was interesting because, my mother, she was exploring her own, just trying to figure her own self out, and she was just doing what she thought was best. But it was confusing to me because the culture, what we believe in is not as, and I don't knock anybody's beliefs, religion, whatever you believe. It's just when people are being the pushy type and telling you what you're doing is wrong and what they're doing is right, is just, to me, that I don't think that's morally correct. I believe that as human beings, we have a right to try to guide. There's that quote, we're all just walking each other home. We have a right to guide each other. But I was really confused because, my mom's my mom, but when you have your mother tell you to your face you're an abomination and you're going to hell because of what you feel, your truth, that was heartbreaking. And I think growing up in that environment, I had questions. I had so many questions. How did he get into the fish? How did he get into the whale, Ma? I don't understand these stories. Like, I had so many questions, but that was tough because there was just yet another section of my life I didn't belong. I wasn't good enough. I'm not Native enough. I'm not Black enough. I'm not straight enough. I don't know. There was so many. It was very confusing. Hence why I always needed some kind of outlet or some kind of thing to. It was very.
And you're a Virgo, so that emphasize that makes everything.
We
even
overthink.
More
I'm a
overthink
Virgo.
it. Let's talk about. Tell the story, please. So, you're a boxer. You're this young person, and you're in Providence, and you're living this life and finding your own truth. How did Hollywood find you? How did that transition happen?
Well, there was a couple of times in my boxing career that I was told I wouldn't box again. One being...
So hold on. We skipped that one situation with the motorcycle crash.
Yes.
Should we go back to that?
Go.
All right,
Look at your notes. Look at your notes.
Yeah, see, that's funny.
You know what it is? There's so much. I've been through a lot of life, and so I get it. I get it.
You get it, yeah. I'm a Virgo, too. You wouldn't know it with all this stuff going on. But I'm kind of nervous. I mean, shouldn't I be a little nervous?
You're doing great.
No, I mean, you're
doing
just,
great.
You're a star. But the notes, I just want you to know, these notes here are from the high school kids.
4 pages of
because they're so cool. And they were so engaged, and it was so amazing. It was just incredible. So I wanted to see these, and I will ask a couple of these. So you ride motorcycles, you fix motorcycles, you were riding a motorcycle, and you got into an accident. You're a boxer, you got in an accident, you got hurt.
Give me the
That was not good. You go. Tell us what happened after that.
I get
go.
the green light?
Yeah, you go.
Well, I did go to motorcycle school. I actually, this is a cool fun fact too. I went to school for criminal justice and science. I wanted to be a probation officer for young kids. But that I was putting myself through college and boxing, and had 3 jobs at the same time. One being a bouncer that I started when I was 18. So I didn't graduate, but I did want to be a motorcycle mechanic. So I put myself through motorcycle mechanic school, during which I rebuilt my whole motorcycle engine, and on my birthday of 2012, which I just had gotten my first title fight call. Just got the call, no manager, no promoter, great, I get the title fight. Oh my God, the sun setting on your beautiful mountain snow scenery. It was like a scene out of your town. It was great, beautiful. And then I get hit by a car 5 minutes away from my house on my birthday on my motorcycle that I just rebuilt. That I had my helmet on. I got road rash. I blew out my knee. Told me, you're lucky you had your helmet on. Your knee's, you need surgery. You probably shouldn't box again. You know, I got people telling me, that's one thing you don't tell Virgo and don't tell me, is don't tell me what I can't do. Because I'm going to go, okay, hold my beer. It's great. I'm going to show you I can do it. So I couldn't walk for about a month, meaning I couldn't really get anywhere. I can kind of like hobble everywhere. And at the time, I was still doing, we call it security, not a bouncer, because we are a respectable security team that looks out for the safety of patrons in the facility of a club at night and stuff. But I was, I've been bouncing for a long time. This was my first night back at the club. And we have a very, all jokes aside, we do have a very substantial and very sophisticated, very well-respected security team where I did work, and I was on like light duty. It was like, you just be a delegate, you tell people where the bathroom is and where the exit is. Sitting in the stool just like this, and heard towards the end of the night, one of my good friends, she got knocked out cold. There was a big brawl. We got all the patrons out, so it was just myself, the staff, and a few police officers. So I ran over to her aid, and I heard an officer come in and scream, excuse my language, "Give her some fucking air!" I look around, and mind you, we have security badges, we have security on the back of his shirt. He proceeded to repeat himself and pushed the other female security officer out of the way. And at this time, I still had this knee brace from my accident. Held my hands up, and I said, "Whoa, what's going on?" He proceeded to grab me, punch me, pepper spray me, tackle me to the ground. This man was 6'3", 300 pounds. Put cuffs on me, pepper sprayed me, point blank range again. Was calling me all kinds of dykes and this and that, and just screaming derogatory things at me, and threw me in the back of the paddy wagon and left me there. This was on a Saturday night during what we used to call Columbus Day weekend, but Indigenous Peoples Day weekend. And as we know, on the holiday weekend, when you get locked up, you ain't seen the judge until Tuesday. So again, I kind of went back into, it's my fault. Oh my God. Mind you, I didn't do anything. I didn't do nothing but work. I was doing nothing but working there. And my supervisor was like, "Hey, listen, I don't know what happened, but he wants you to apologize to him, and he'll let you go." I'm in cuffs, like snotty. I'm like, "Apologize for what?" He's like, "Hey, I didn't see it. I don't know. I don't want you to get locked up. You're gonna be locked up till Tuesday. Like, just apologize to him, and he'll let you go." And I'm like, "Okay." I apologized to that man to let me go after he just beat the shit out of me for no reason. And again, I went into that little kid, 12-year-old Kay, that thought it was my fault, and I just wanted to hide. I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to get in trouble or anything. But what he didn't know is that this was done under one of the clearest cameras that we have in the club. And he proceeded to, what you put out is what you get. Karma is real. And he put out a bogus statement saying, "I went after him. I was the aggressor. I'm a violent boxer." And the Providence Police Department saw the video, and he ended up getting put on suspension pay. But I sued the city. I sued him, I sued the city, I sued the department, and I was the first and only one who actually proceeded to follow through with the prosecuting him. We found out that he's been abusing and had victims back to '86. Back to the year I was born. He's had these assaults for a very long time, and there's nobody that wanted to come forward, but I did. And I ended up having to move out of Rhode Island because I was getting followed. I was getting harassed by his coworkers, following me to my car. So I ended up moving. I moved to the reservation in Connecticut. I call my second family, and that was probably the darkest time after that. I went through a huge alcoholic about a year, gained a bunch of weight. I got told I would never box again. You shouldn't box again. So he set the tone for what I thought, again, was my fault. But I literally crawled myself out of that hole and started one day at a time, walking in the pool, and then eventually got myself back into shape. And my first fight I fought was a title fight. I came back and fought a title fight. I lost, but we had the fight of the year, and that girl retired soon after. And then moving forward to more title fights, more wins. But that was a pretty dark time in my life. And again, it took me back to that 12-year-old Kay that I thought it was my fault, until I said, you know what, it wasn't. And I just kind of took a chance. And thank God he's not on the street anymore doing the same thing he's been doing to countless amount of people. Thank you.
So the world is big, but it's small, and a Hollywood producer falls upon you, and take it from there, because I love this. This went through social media, correct?
The necessary evil, yes.
Yeah, the necessary evil.
Yeah.
But you thought he was just a creeper.
I did, man. He slid in my DM, man. You know.
Yeah, most are.
Yeah, man.
But this one is good.
Yeah, this is the cool thing about Instagram. I always say this, is that you can always check the request and see how creepy the person is before you want to answer, and you can choose. This was around 2015, 16? No, it was 2017 because my brother just had passed. Yeah. By then, I had obviously gotten back into boxing. Everybody said I wouldn't. I then won 3 world titles, one being in New Zealand, the first world title fought in New Zealand, one being in Bermuda, where culturally my ancestors were taken there. That was probably my favorite fight. My ancestors were taken in Bermuda, so the fact that I was able to fight in Bermuda and take my ancestors back and win a world title, I started getting to a point where, okay, I have a bigger purpose. Like, this is great, fighting is great, it's one of my jobs, but I call her my sister warrior. She's from the Shinnecock tribe out of Long Island in the Hamptons. And I bet you didn't know there was a whole tribe in the Hamptons. It's like, yes, you did good. There's Montauk and Shinnecock. Those are my people. And she was helping me out with some PR stuff with boxing. She's like, all right, like, I know you fight for, but like, what do we fight for? Like, I'm like, well, you know, and I'm not very New England. I'm like, well, you know, I'm like, you know what I do with the things, and I fight when the ring and the bell rings, bang, bang, bada boom, bada bing. And I'm like, she's like, no, but what do you fight for? I'm like, I don't know, I fight for you, I fight for a thing, like, this is my medicine. So what we have in our culture is, like, everybody has a medicine. Well, everybody in here has a medicine where it's something that you do as a service for people, or you do, and it really just warms your heart, and you have really good energy when you do it. And whatever your medicine is, my mom's medicine is singing, crafts. She just has she has a gift of dreams. Like, that's her medicine. I don't have the medicine of singing. I can if I need to, but that's just not my choice. Mine happens to be sports and being a modern day Payanisi, which is a warrior for my people. And the fact that I can physically do what we've been doing as indigenous people since the dawn of time is fight. And I know it's a violent sport, but the fact that the intent behind it, I'm like, well, you know, I fight for not just my tribe, I fight for like all nations. So that's where the Fight for All Nations hashtag of my Fight for All Nations brand, I guess, if you will, had kind of built. And from there, I just really took it on as bringing awareness to different issues like missing and murdered indigenous women, our pipelines being drilled through our sacred grounds, our treaties being broken, our residential schools that nobody has no idea about with these survivors, just anything that we know about in Indian country and in the community that the mainstream media, especially missing and murdered indigenous people, and it's just, it's astounding. Still to me, it baffles me how many people don't know about this, and it saddens me that I even have to talk about missing and murdered indigenous women. I mean, we can figure out how to like do 14-ply toilet paper, but we can't figure out how to like find out what's going on with our people. So with that, building a platform, this writer slid into my DM talking about, hey, I am this director, right? I'm like, who is this creep talking about a movie that they want me to be in again? But he checked out. His name is Joseph Kubata Vodika. He's directed Narcos. You know, see Narcos? Mm-hmm. Walking Dead. He has a couple of films out, and he just basically he knew that just like the mainstream media, he didn't really know much about missing and murdered indigenous women, and he wondered why he didn't know. And he stumbled across the Highway of Tears, which is in Canada, and he went down a wormhole, as most he's another Virgo, directors do, and he wanted to tell this story about missing and murdered indigenous women, but he knew it wasn't his story to tell. And so he asked me if I ever thought about acting, and I thought about it, but I didn't think I'd be here. And oddly enough, I did just tell this story. My brother passed away, one of my brothers passed away from brain cancer in 2017, so I was going through a weird time where boxing wasn't my outlet. I just was kind of looking for other things, and for whatever reason, acting was heavy in my brain. I'm like, I don't really know, what do I like, do a cameo in a Gatorade commercial? Like, how does this work? Like, how do you start? Like, do I have to be an extra? I don't know, but I was willing to put in the work. But I said, you know what, if it's meant for me, it'll find me. a week later, that's when he slid into my DMs, and from there it kind of grew into, he wanted to get to know me. He sat down with my elders to know where I came from. I shared with him the stories that I got shared with me from a lot of survivors and victims and families of missing and murdered Indigenous people. And from there, he asked me to help him write this story. I've never even laid eyes on a script up until this point. Didn't even know what a script was. I'm reading it like, what is INT? He's like, interior. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But from there, it just kind of happened, and I treated this just like a fight. I just did the research and did the best I could with it. But the intention behind telling this story was just to have awareness. Let's tell a story about something that's a reality to so many unfortunate families, tribes, and communities around here. Not just in Canada, not just in North America. I mean, the director from True Detective, Issa, she's from Mexico City, and this targeting of Indigenous minority people, and especially women in these communities, is at a ridiculous, it's an epidemic, you know what I mean? So that's how I got into this whole acting thing. It wasn't, I want to be famous, because who wants that shit? It was, what is the intention, and how can I use my platform and the gifts that I've gotten from the creator, whether it's fighting, whether it's storytelling. If I have the strength to take on whatever it is and to tell those stories, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna die trying. And this is kind of snowballed into Golden Globe nominations.
Yes! Critics' Choice.
Yes.
Hold on. Emmys, Critics' Choice, now Golden Globes. Come on, you are famous. How's it going? How's it feel?
You know, it's interesting trying to go to the grocery store to pick out bananas, and I hear Agent Navarro. I'm like, what? Like, it's very, I mean, getting noticed. I've gotten noticed places, countries for boxing, but for this is on a whole nother level. It's cool, but the best thing, the most rewarding thing, is seeing the Indigenous community, especially the Alaskan Indigenous and Inuit people, feeling seen, feeling heard, feeling like they have visibility, and especially touching on missing and murdered Indigenous women in an entertainment factor. But it is something that it's a fabricated story about a woman who gets murdered, but it's probably a very familiar story to a lot of our missing people that we are still searching for answers for.
Who's watched the series? True Detective. All right, that's a good number.
Okay.
Yeah, we got all the time in the world on our hands around here. We just watch TV.
Thank you. Well, thank you to Butney for watching. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
I just want to say, I'm going to talk about Max right now.
Yes, go ahead.
I got to tell you something I heard today. Our Max Silverman, right? Everyone knows Max Silverman. Did the amazing film, The Love Song. I've watched it like 16 times. I got tons of time. And guess who's in his next film? The one and only.
I am.
No, I mean, come on. How cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so your ability to manifest, even if you didn't mean it.
I don't mean it. I have to watch what I say, like, immediately, like, it just happens. I just told you that I saw a Telluride Kia car, like, last week. I'm like, see, there it is again. There it is.
I mean, it's so good. And I didn't know you had studied justice, or law and
Criminal justice.
Criminal
Yeah.
justice. Uh-huh. Then you're a police officer in the movie.
That was on its head. Playing a cop after getting beat up by one was a cathartic process, but
Well,
it
you
was
got beat up
something.
by a librarian, but you
I
didn't do
did.
that.
I'm still looking for her. Anybody who's a librarian here, I'm gonna see you after the show.
Was her name Martha?
No, I don't know what her name is. I didn't catch her name. I didn't catch her name.
All right, I'm gonna let that librarian thing go, but I can't believe it. So then so you meet with Joe, and you're in this, you write this, and then how did you get on to how did Issa find you?
Well, Issa found me.
The director of
True Detective.
True Detectives.
So Issa found me from the casting director, Francine Maisler, who actually saw the first film I did, Catch the Fair One. And I got nominated for Best Actress at the Indie Spirit Awards, which I didn't even know what it was when I got nominated. I'm like, what is that? I have no idea about it. But Francine is a wonderful, wonderful person and casting director. And before I did, because True Detective is only my third job, but I did a movie it's now called Asphalt City, but it was called Black Flies back then. And one of the one of the crew that worked on Catch the Fair one was working on this movie in New York, and he brought the director to Asphalt City to the screening, and the director was French. He's like, "Who is that?" And he's like, "I will, if you want to meet her." I got connected with that, and I fell into a role with Sean Penn and Ty Sheridan and Mike Tyson in Asphalt City. It was really cool. I didn't audition for the first one. I didn't audition for this, but it kind of just happened. So from there, the way Issa found me is through the casting director. And when in the writer's room, there was one indigenous writer that was kind of egging Issa on to make Navarro's character part of the indigenous community, because after Issa did a lot of research in Alaska, about 70 to 80% of the population is indigenous. So after she came back and did a bunch of research with her and her writers, she decided to make the conscious decision to make Navarro part of the community, which is really a brave decision because we don't get to see indigenous people as part of the community, or a police officer, or anything other than a abuse victim or a drug addict, or in riding a horse on the TV in some weird interpretation of our history that is not accurate most of the time. We don't get to see us in modern day, like Reservation Dogs is a revelation. That is us. We are funny. We are living people, breathing human beings. So the way that whole thing unfolded is basically I got a phone call about, I didn't know it was True Detective first. I got a phone call about a woman who wanted to talk to me about a role in a project. It's so secretive in Hollywood. I'm like, okay. And when I talked to Issa, I had no idea about her work. She had really no idea about me. She just saw my picture and she wanted to speak to me. And then when I found out that they were doing a 4th season of True Detective, I was like, oh my God, because I'm such a huge fan. I was like, I'm a retarded fan. It's like not even, it should be illegal. But I was so excited about it. And then I talked to her about this character that she had, part of the indigenous community. She was half Dominican, half this. She gave me the whole spiel about it. And then I watched some of her work, and I read the pilot, which was amazing. And I also did the audition, which was terrible, which self-tape should be banned from Hollywood. It's terrible. And I actually wrote it down in my journal. I actually, after I auditioned, I said, I will get the part of Evangeline Navarro in True Detective Night Country over and over and over again in my journal. I thought it was like, I'm like, this is not gonna happen. This doesn't happen. Like this, I have no training. This is True Detective. This is HBO.
Yes, you went to school to be criminal justice.
But not an actress.
But you got this. You did it.
I
you
did
know
the
what's
thing.
Up. You know how they walk and stuff.
I guess it's the belt. It's all.
Yeah,
the
no,
belt.
it's the belt. Yeah,
it's the belt. But I ended up finding out that I got the part, and it was kind of like I was terrified. I got a call from Issa. She's like, "I just want to tell you, congratulations." And I'm sorry. I'm like, you're sorry? I'm like, she's like, this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. And then I knew that I found out that Jodie Foster got cast, and I was like, not because it was like, I was like, oh my God, this is terrifying, but amazing. And I was scared, but I knew that it was going to be an amazing journey. So that's really how that manifested. I would love to tell you that I went to Juilliard and I studied for 20 years. Then I mastered acting. No. This is kind of just something that keeps finding me, and the thing that kind of keeps me grounded in this is just, I basically just do the best I can with what I have, and hopefully, I'm always open to learning. I had a cool teacher with Jodie. That was great.
Yeah, was that fun working with Jodie?
Oh, she's horrible. No, she's it was
so great.
It was I always compare it to being like in fight camp with Mike Tyson in '86. Like what better legend of a person who mastered their craft. And is a great human being and a cool person and does fantasy football and is hilarious. It was like really cool to be working with her.
Mm-hmm. But the energy between the two of you was amazing. Yes, Natalie.
I was just curious, how Agent Navarro is such a unique role, even like within the True Detective franchise, but in general, and how does your background and your activism, how did that influence and inspire the way you fulfilled that role?
Well, firstly, like coming from a world where you don't feel enough, I immediately identified with Navarro being part of the community, but from an outsider. Number one, because she's mixed. that was immediate. Like I'm like, oh, I got this. But number two, because even being a police officer in the indigenous community is a very taboo, very mixed bag of emotions. We want to keep our community safe, but from the outside, it doesn't really mix well. Like, and you can go into so much depth with that. But what really intrigued me about Trooper Navarro is the fact that you just don't know anything about her. And when you think you know, she has another layer. And the biggest thing that I really related with her and why I really love the character and working with the character is that her vulnerability is there's a superpower. You can put a gun in my hand, I can just give you the look. And that's like, I got that down pat. But what I learned from my first film, from Joseph, was that, I always ask people, what is the hardest thing to do first? Like, he's like, well, you can say a bunch of words with your mouth, but if you want people to really feel what you're thinking, like, it's hard for people to understand you without saying any words. It's all in your body language, your eyes, everything. So I took that and ran with that, as my Virgo brain did. And understanding that and kind of applying that to what I could learn about Navarro. I learned things about doing that character on a daily basis too, with just different ways that we shot it. So it was just really, first of all, learning, number one, what the Inupiaq Inuit culture, who they are. Because I'm indigenous, I am Wampanoag, I am mixed, I am all a big mixed bag of fun. But I'm not from Alaska. I'm not indigenous. I've never even been there out before this. So I don't want to I'm just super indigenous woman. I know what it's like. Because I wouldn't want anybody to do that with me. And as indigenous person, as a native person, native woman, there's protocol. So I just wanted to know, how do you guys want to see yourself portrayed on screen? Tell me stories, share words with me, share a story. How was your winters? Tell me a good story, a bad story. Just please let me know. First of all, we had 2 executive producers that were like my sisters. And I really just made it a point to make sure that I was representing who they are. I can say who I am, who they are correctly, because up there at Alaska and Arctic, they are built different. They have a whole, it's amazing, and it's a beautiful culture. And Issa created this story based on Alaska as a character. Like, I'm sure the ones who've seen it, like the whole being in Innis, Alaska, it's a whole character within itself. And the stories of the indigenous people from Alaska, their stories are so interesting, they're so deep, they're dark, but they're what helped them survive all this time. So that's what really attracted me to it, and that's what helped me work with the character. Because even like people, I know the biggest question is Navarro alive or is she dead? And what was cool about what Issa created was that whatever you believe is correct, because she created a story that there's evidence that leads to either. If you believe she's, she followed her sister, then cool. If you believe that she's great and she's like a, retail store out in Wyoming somewhere and she's chilling, that's right. But it's a cool open-ended thing.
Where do you think she is?
I'm not telling you.
She's a librarian. The other small world story, the connection world, is Anna Bolling's sister Molly Asher is an award-winning producer. And those two worked together on your first film, is that correct?
Very first film. She was one of the producers.
I mean, can we just look at this energy? Tornado, really? Well,
I'm like a hurricane.
You're like a cyclone or something.
I'm like a hurricane.
Yeah, of great energy. How about another question from you all? Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
Jack Dempsey used to be bouncer here at the Senate.
Really?
He had several fights in town, and Mike Tyson doesn't wear socks in his boxing shoes in honor of Jack Dempsey.
I did know
Jack
that.
Dempsey grew up, he's the Manassas Mall, and grew up 2 hours away from here, about 2 hours, in Manassas, Colorado.
Well, I didn't know that. Thank you.
We got to go to the museum. I told you.
I'm gonna just have to come back for like a week. I gotta come back for a week.
Yeah.
No, I did know that about Mike Tyson and socks. I love that about, I wear socks, but Mike Tyson did.
If nobody knows, Jack Dempsey was heavyweight champion of the world in like 1928 or something.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I wish my partner was here with me, because he's like a whole encyclopedia. He give you what they wore, what the date, what the weather conditions were. It's ridiculous.
That is such a cool tie-in. Is it Ted back there? I don't have my glasses on.
But thank you for that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's it. And he was boxing on Main Street. The ring was set up on Main Street, right in front of the Sheraton. And was there a president?
At the Senate, which is still a building that you see, it's over on Spruce.
Yeah.
I think we should do that again. Can we put a ring in the middle of Main Street?
Yes,
boxing?
of course. Just Anna can do it. Anna can do anything. Yes, Bibi.
I wanted to bring it back to men's violence against women because this is a San Miguel Resource Center hosted event. And I was wondering, firstly, thank you for sharing, some of your personal stories. And I was wondering if you could give us a status update on men's violence against women in your community as you see it, and then also what's inspiring to you and some positive changes that you've seen.
I would first say that from being in my community, especially being from a matriarchal society, we're very matriarchal where women are sacred. And I believe that within the last, I would say 8 or 10 years, that's been kind of reestablished where the men are really taking responsibility and standing with and behind the women, because the women where I come from, decision makers, we're chiefs, we have clan mothers, we are the core of the community. So I see a lot of violence. I mean, I grew up in a household where my father used to take it out on my mother a lot, hence the reason why there's certain things I do as a ritual today as just kind of as a coping mechanism. And what I learned after my father has since passed, that there's a lot of things I didn't understand about his upbringing that he saw. It's a lot of generational things. And I think just what is really important for, there's a taboo that men don't talk about, or even with women in a society, in our community, like there's a lot of taboo things, a lot of topics that are off, we just don't talk about it. I believe we all come from that at one point or another, a family dynamic or a friend dynamic, we just don't talk about it. And I feel as though, in the last 10 years, us putting everything on the table and really taking responsibility for ourselves as women as well, and taking that leadership role, and for the men to take that, it's okay to stand side by side or even behind the women to make the decisions. That is okay, because at the very core of this decision making is what's best for the community. It's what's best for the future, what's best for the next 7 generations. So I've seen a lot of men take accountability for their trauma and what they've seen and what they grew up seeing. And I've seen a lot of women, generational trauma is a real thing. I first experienced it where, growing up, I just felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like just kind of like, almost like you walk in a room, it's like kind of, I'm sorry for existing. It's kind of a hard thing to articulate. But I first started noticing it when I started to go into other communities and speaking to other communities and seeing and feeling this just kind of like somber energy with the women. I'm like, what's going on? And there was a lot of domestic violence. There was a lot of alcohol and drug abuse. There was a lot of domestic violence. But it had a lot to do with the self-accountability and the accountability for the men in the community to take what their traumas were. It's okay to have traumas. It's okay to have to talk about things or do what you need to do to work through your shit. Because doing that and passing that on and then showing it to the younger generation, it's not okay. So I would say that within the last 8 to 10 years, it's definitely flipped it on its head. Going back to traditional ways, at least from where I come from, remembering traditional ways, traditional ceremonies, traditional stories, going back to really the roots, the grassroots. You don't have to be indigenous to have a ritual. A ritual is not an indigenous word. A ritual or culture or roots of who you are in your family or where you come. You guys have roots here. Just told me you guys have a lot of roots here. But that accountability and that putting shame aside. A lot of times we mask, and I say we, being a male or female, guy, girl, whatever you identify as, shame, we try to cover it up with stuff, whether it be alcohol, drugs, I don't know, we can scroll through hours on our phone, but I think there's a momentum going with taking, being okay to speak about shame of what you've been through. There's a lot of men that I've learned who've been through sexual abuse and domestic violence in their household, and after they bring it to the table and they have create that safe space to talk about it, I've seen a lot of changes, and the lack of judgment too. I think we need to stop judging each other so hard and stop telling each other what you do is wrong, what I do is right. That's like the whole colonizer mindset. I don't have to be an indigenous person to tell a white person you're a colonizer. People colonize each other on a daily basis. So I think that just keep moving in that momentum. You don't have to sit and sing Kumbaya with a bunch of, the guys don't have to sit that, but to actually just have self-accountability, man. You just take control of your own shit. Stop taking it on people. That's my own personal humble opinion.
Back there, yeah.
Hello. I'm Sally. Work at SMRC. Good to see you again.
That's Sally, and she's on the team with SMRC.
Yeah. So you've been really outspoken about, the missing and murdered Indigenous women and people's movement and residential schools for a long time. Which, by the way, Fort Lewis College in Durango started as a residential school. But I think over the past, throughout your career, and over the past 10, 15 years, there's been a big societal change not only within sports, with like women's sports becoming more popular, more acceptable, but also like a larger societal shift in that direction, which has also resulted in the opposite, right? And so I wonder how your advocacy has changed around those topics, within that social context, especially as you've grown your platform.
That's an excellent question. This kind of goes, and correct me if I'm wrong, with kind of like mixing politics and sports in an aspect. When I first started bringing awareness or speaking on different issues, I got so many people that, again, don't tell me what not to do, but so many people, you shouldn't speak about these things. Don't mix sports and, I can't say politics, but like political or communal issues with sports. But I kind of just voided that out, and I feel as though it is my duty to speak about it if I have a voice. Missing and murdered Indigenous women, I know you guys seen the handprint over the red handprint, or even like these earrings. That's signal to they try to silence us. You can't say who we are. They tried to silence the women. So I just feel as that the duty is, we get taught to speak for those who can't speak. We fight for those who can't fight. We dance for those who can't dance. We sing for those who can't sing, et cetera, et cetera. So although it's the norm to not mix those two, and it's so shaky, but the only reason why it's so shaky is because people don't want to hear the truth. I think that's really what it boils down to. And the more they try to silence us as Indigenous people, the louder and louder I'm gonna get. I see the Thank you. I've seen the trajectory of it change, whereas, like the Kaepernick effect, one person take a knee, you need that one person to start something, and then everybody wants to, follow suit. It's just like the 4-minute mile, and at one point it was impossible for anybody to run a mile in 4 minutes. But once 4 or 5, I don't know the minute, don't quote me, I think it's 4-minute mile. But once the one person did it, now you have everybody doing it. And so I think the trajectory of that is exactly that. If I'm going to be the trailblazer for speaking about it, so what? I ruffle a couple of feathers. My native name is Many Feathers. I'm gonna ruffle some. But it takes that one person to kind of set the tone. And if so many people are very outspoken about things like this, and especially in with missing and murdered Indigenous women and people, I've seen so many different organizations, so many people, including land acknowledgements in their just meetings, and people acknowledging missing and murdered Indigenous people. I've seen so many documentaries getting taken up by major networks, where these documentaries have been made 15, 20 years ago, but now they're taking it up because people are being more vocal about it. So I believe that, some people are not going to speak up. I don't think because you have a position in sports or because you have a leadership position, I'm not going to tell you what you need to do with your position. But I do think as me, especially with all the boxes I check with the community that I check with, that it's important for us to keep being loud about it, because they keep trying to silence us. They can only silence us for so long. So I think that also the sensitivity, I think now society is almost on the other side, where they're very sensitive. They want to almost say and do too much, which sometimes can be we don't need Biden to apologize for the residential schools. We would like some action on that. And I'm not political at all, but don't get me wrong. An apology and acknowledgement is a start. It's not all bad. But how long have the residential schools been around? And it's 2024. You know what I mean? So, and it also shouldn't be a novelty. Like, you shouldn't be bringing awareness because you want to be the cool kid and I want to bring awareness because it's going to get me more likes. That's not why I do it. I don't care if somebody recognizes me for that. I just want that awareness because I want it to stop. I don't want to speak about missing and murdered Indigenous people anymore. I don't want to have to go to seminars. I don't want to have to go to marches. I don't want to have to go to another family of survivors anymore. I don't want to have to give these speeches of support. I don't want to have to raise money for funeral costs for these people, for my people, for our community, and also suicide. Suicide is huge with our community, especially with our kids, because they don't feel that they're worth anything. They see their aunties and their uncles and their brothers and their fathers and their cousins and the people in the community getting taken because nobody cares. If y'all seen the first film, like we had that quote, nobody's searching because nobody cares. That's not true, and we got to make that not true, because we do care about our people.
Absolutely. Your platform is getting bigger and bigger every day, and I don't see you letting up on your natural advocacy for everything, right? That you
I
stand
got air
for.
in my lungs. I'm gonna be the mouthpiece, and as long as I have a platform and a mic in my hand and whatever, I will. I don't necessarily call myself an activist or advocate. Yes,
Advocate for sure, right?
I just say I'm the mouthpiece. I got, if somebody gives me a mic, great, cool. I get to talk about. It's great to talk about my journey if people find it motivational, but I feel like it's we gotta do things for other people.
And again, I'm going to go back to the school situation because it was so cool today. What was your takeaway from that group of young kids today? Did you have something?
They were so engaged, and I would say that they're very, very, very aware, very self-aware, very intelligent. I didn't think I could get a whole library full of teenagers quiet. You can hear a rat piss on cotton. It was so quiet. But
I've never heard that one.
hey, I'm full of them. I'm full of them here all night. No, I took away from the thought they put in their questions and the fact that they were so interested and they were so open with me. I had a couple of students after I was done share some real personal things with me about things that I said. Hence the reason why I continue to do these things. I mean, I don't Telluride. Where the hell is Telluride? Nobody knows. But if I made this journey for 24 hours, one person, one child got something out of that they could carry. That's why I do what I do. So I just think that they were really, really engaged, which was really fun. I could talk to them all day. It was really they're our future,
Right, and that's where it's so important. And again, SMRC and the program that you're running over with the school was really very, very special, very special. Somebody else had a question out there in the middle.
Yeah, you had a lot of opportunities to grow and heal and explore, through everything from boxing to riding motorcycles. I don't ride motorcycles, but
fast.
and through your acting career, and you mentioned at the beginning how you are the first female in your lineage to grow up learning so much about your culture and your history. So did your mothers, aunts and grandmothers and great-grandmothers, did they preserve a lot of your history and culture through oral tradition, but it was just they weren't allowed to express it? And also maybe connecting that to all of the different things you've done in your life to become this advocate and this voice. What kind of inspiration did you maybe impart to the kids today? Maybe they're not riding motorcycles or boxing or becoming actors, but how they can find their voice and their advocacy and their support of their community. Can you connect some dots there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I didn't come from money. I didn't come from this family that had everything established. I kind of had to find my way. And I had a similar question from one of the students actually today, and my answer was basically your authenticity. The more authentic you are, and I'm a work in progress, girl. Listen, I have not healed all the way yet, but that's the beauty of living. And all the experiences are unique to you. How you perceive things, what your best day or worst day may not be somebody else's best day or worst day. But growing up, my great-grandmother and my grandmother weren't even able to say who they were. It was illegal to say who they were. So through oral tradition, it got shut down. If you go back in history to 1675, 1676, the King Philip's War, which has anybody heard about the King Philip War? One person? Has anybody heard about Little Bighorn?
Yeah.
See, this is the problem. King Philip War, if y'all can Google it when you go home. But King Philip War was, King Philip is a descendant of the Wampanoag people. He was a son of Osamiquin, and he was a great leader. Massasoit means great leader, Osamiquin, yellow feather, and he had his son, when he died, he had a son, took his throne, but there was a King Philip War after his brother got assassinated in Providence, so they declared war, and it was one of the bloodiest massacres, and you'll see in American history that, the Pequot War, but this stuff you don't hear about. From there, you know, our people almost got completely wiped out, and from there, a lot of our people had to disperse, hence where my people come from is King Philip's right-hand man, I guess you call it his war chief. His name was Anawan, and he got the land of Seekonk, Massachusetts, and his people went there, and that's my people, that's kind of explains why I ended up boxing, because I come from a war chief, so that kind of makes sense. But, you know, our people were forced into hiding, and when they hide, they got forced into mixing with slaves and native people. That's why, as terrible as it sounds, like our history in New England is like, they tried to mix natives and black people to make super slaves. So that was a thing back in New England. Let's make a super slave. We got the natives, we got the black people, let's mix them up. That is the history that I come from. But after this war, we were 90% gone and into hiding, and there was a lot of different homesteads that were preserved with the oral history, very quiet oral history, but everything was so hush-hush. Like I told you guys in the beginning, that a lot of my ancestors and descendants were working for families but weren't able to say who they were because it was illegal. Otherwise, it'd be bad for the family. Skip a couple of generations when things, you know, started getting a little bit better for families and tribes were getting reestablished. One of my tribe was one of them, and just trying to preserve and, you know, reopen that box of history. It skipped a couple of generations. That's why when you hear reconnecting natives or relearning, that's a whole nother seminar, but that's something that is not so welcomed in some native communities, whereas obviously we want to preserve who we are as people. I unfortunately did not grow up in an area where I grew up on a reservation, where I had a grandmother, great-grandmother, aunties and aunties speaking the language, passing down the culture. We had to relearn it. But the strength and the knowledge of who we are as matriarchs in our society, and the strength of the survival and the resilience that we had is really, that's the dot that kept me and held me on one. That's all I needed to hear and know in my heart for my family. And going through my journey and really seeing the difference between my mentality and my mother's and great-grandmothers and grandmothers. I was kind of like I was the hope. Like I'm the first one in a long time that's learning this from birth and kind of learning what my responsibilities are. And I don't know everything about my people. I don't know every ceremony. I'm not like the all-knowing Seekonk Wampanoag. I learn new things every day. I don't know all my language, but the strength came from the fact that I still know where I came from, and I still know the street that the last homestead was on, and I can trace it back. Those are the little dots, the little bit of resilience that just lives in at least my line. That's what held on to me. And even though it's not the typical, I'm not your typical straight-haired, full-blooded native, but that I don't need to be. I don't want to be. I'm a walking history book. I'm a walking history from every freckle on my face to every curl in my hair. It's strength. I used to look at it as a negative thing. I used to say, well, damn, man, I wish I was full blood. Or I wish I was full this, I wish I was full that, but I get to stand in so many rooms with so much support. I get to stand in a room full of my black community, and I feel supported. My Cape Verde community, I feel supported. My indigenous community, I feel supported. And especially for the young kids, there's so many mixed black indigenous kids, like especially now in the last couple of generations, and that is such a frowned upon, unfortunately, thing with not just indigenous people. If you mix with black and anything, usually it's frowned upon. If you mix with white and anything, it's not, which is still baffling to me. So having that, being the person who is kind of like the face of being mixed, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change a thing. because a kid sitting down and turn on the TV and see me the boxing or see me, going to the Emmys, and I look like them, and I'm giving them an example, and it's all stems from that not being able to say who we are. I'm gonna say it loud and proud. It goes to the same thing of just the awareness. There's a rich history, and I'm very proud of it, of all of it. Good question, thank you.
What scares you?
You.
Besides
No, I'm playing.
another Virgo sitting next to you.
Yeah. What scares me?
I was going to say you don't have to answer that, but you do.
I mean, I'm not
Tough, right?
scared of things. Like, I'm scared to die. Like, don't turn the lights off. Like, when I walked into my little condo, I was like, wait a minute, there's so many rooms with so many lights. I think we all get nervous. I think we confuse nervousness with, like, fear. I think the best way I can answer this, letting people close to me down, that's my biggest fear. That's what I'm scared of. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm scared of spiders. I don't like the surprise of spiders. No one does. But I'm not scared of spiders. But that's a good question. But I wouldn't tell you even if I did.
You wouldn't tell me? We've known each
Nothing.
other for like 7 hours.
No, I have
We're friends.
phobias. I get nervous, social anxiety. I get all the things.
Yeah.
All the things.
Do you?
Oh yeah, I don't. Like, people think that because I'm in movies now, and especially with boxing, like, oh, you love attention. No, I do not. Virgos don't like attention.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in that corner when nobody sees me. But it's
We would see you, though.
I know, but you wouldn't in my mind. I'm like a cat. I'm just like, you can't
So
see
you're an
me.
extrovert, introvert.
I am.
Virgo.
Yes.
Raise your hand if you're a Virgo and you know what we're talking about. Are you kidding me?
Okay. So,
Well, it's a special little club we have, isn't it?
yeah, no, it's a. Again,
Okay,
what
so-
keeps me going is
Yeah.
the intention behind why I do it all.
Right. I thought, like, how to describe you, and it's a natural advocate, because you're rolling through life and you seriously are naturally helping people. You don't need anything. You're not asking for anything, are you?
I like food, but I
Food,
don't,
yeah.
I don't want
Yeah.
anything. I don't do this for accolades. I don't do this for, like, God, look at me. I could care less how many likes I got. I don't care less. People like me. I don't need the awards, the belts, and that's great. But what it represents is really what means everything to me. Again, if somebody can see what can be accomplished, the belts are great. I don't care about them, but the significance behind the attention and what I represent and what people see in me, is people see themselves in me.
All of your boxing, what do we call it? Shorts? What are they called? The boxing little things.
I wear a skirt.
You do?
It's
got some fringe on
freeing.
it.
It's freeing. It's more. I get more movement.
And then you have the acronym, MM.
I've done
Yeah.
MMIW on one of my boxing kits, one of my boxing outfits. Yeah.
Yeah, kids. That gets people's attention. Got mine, right? I had to look up what company is that sponsored her? That's not a company. I have a feeling, I don't know about you guys, but you're going to be a very you're going to be an unusual and effective actor in Hollywood. I think you're a very unique character, and when you go out there and you're hanging with all the cool kids, do you find yourself like, I'm a little different, just like you said when you were a kid?
Oh, that never goes away. I think just changing it from a negative to a positive and flipping on its head, like.
Oh, it's all positive. I mean.
Well, for
you're
me, the experience, the positive experience, I was. They tried to bully me as a kid, but I could fight, so that was a little different. But it's not even physically fight, getting made fun of. I think the fighting was just being confident in who I was. Like, you can say whatever you want to say. And I've said this before as a recent, there's nothing anybody can tell me that I haven't already told myself, the mean stuff, because I'm an asshole to myself. I've been there. But it's been a rewarding thing to represent so much. It's a heavy thing to carry, but you don't get presented things in front of you if you can't handle them. Our situations, life happens for us, not to us. I like to say. I like to try to think. Sometimes I still scream and beat the horn at people at times and get aggravated, but we're all humans. I think that's the beautiful thing about learning who we are. And I'm not in Hollywood to be famous. I'm just there to do the work that, I have, of course, if I get to be in a Marvel movie, that's great. But I'd rather do the work, the meaningful work, tell the stories that matter, tell the stories from the perspective of the people we're telling it from, and get the authentic stories told, because storytelling is something that is very indigenous. It's very how we survive. It's how we pass down our culture. It's how we pass down our languages, how we pass down, just everything. We are long-winded indigenous people. As y'all can tell, I can talk. So, yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Tubutni.
When I moved to Telluride a bunch of years ago, somebody said to me, well, Telluride is really diverse. We have all kinds of white people.
I like that. Okay.
So great to have you here.
Amongst the white people.
Given that you got this audience here, you told what I find really beautiful in all of your stories is the storytelling, and it really helps ground who you are as a person. But if there was one thing you could share with this room, because you said, talking about being an activist, that's a charged word, and I like the word engaged. But what could you leave us with a nugget so that each one of us in this room can walk out of here? We're changed because of your being here, but if there's one thing you could ask of us, is there something that you could ask of us to each turn our dial, make a switch? What might that be?
I love this question. What is your name?
Lucky.
Lucky. I like that. Ooh. Man, you just put me on the spot. Well, I would say if I had to leave you with anything, and I don't have a anything cliche to say, any kind of meme or special quote, but learning through life is that what's really been beneficial to me is that to have a little bit more patience with one another. As very cliche as that may sound, is once you start getting aggravated with somebody, maybe they're taking too long to explain something. Maybe they're taking too long at a light. Maybe they're saying something that you really don't care about, but they are open up to tell you about, I don't know, a candle they got at the store. I have been doing this myself, actually, is taking a deep breath and just letting the person get it out. Being more patient. You can add 2 more seconds to a listening ear to somebody. How many of us have been in line and there's somebody total stranger and they just told you their whole life story in the 2 minutes, and it happens, but you got to think it's happened at that exact time and that exact moment with that exact person, maybe because they need you have no idea where they're coming from, where they're going to. But that's one thing I'd love to leave y'all with, is that because I've been doing it, because I find myself, and then we all do it, my mom, I love my mom. But sometimes I'm like, you just get it out. And I'm from the Northeast, so we're like, let's go, kind of a thing. But I know how I feel when somebody's rushing me. I don't like to be rushed, and I also like to be heard. There was a time I didn't feel heard or seen at all, as especially the young one. So I'll leave you with that. Just have more patience with one another and yourself too. Just that one little deep breath, in and out. And honestly, I've seen conversations go from, and it's been for me selfishly, from aggravation, hurry up, to wow, yeah, that's really cool, that's interesting, I'm glad you shared that. That's been beneficial, and they feel more comfortable. You're putting out good energy into the world, as cliche as that may sound, but energy has no prejudice. No matter what language you speak, no matter what shade of white you are, no matter what you are, what background you have, energy is something that I really am keen on, as far as whatever you put out, your karma is real. Whether it's loving energy, hating energy, whatever it is, you kind of, you paint, you shovel that snow path out of your way. And whatever life you want to live, make sure you're being mindful of how you're putting yourself out there. That's good.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much.
His name's not Lucky either. His name is Chris.
His name is Lucky.
Is it? You know, do you ever hear the saying, there's no such thing as luck? It's when preparedness meets opportunity. That might be the definition of you.
I'll accept that and I'll receive that. I've also got told I got a horseshoe up my ass lately, so I'll take that one versus. And then I'm so lucky. So.
Well, that's very Yellowstone.
Yeah, it is. Oh, Yellowstone.
I don't know.
Let's not go there.
I know.
No,
let's
I
not
like
go.
that quote too.
Yeah.
You know,
That's you. That's what I think about. Thank you.
Tabutni.
Tabutni. Thank all of you. Amazing. Look at this cool crowd.
Yeah, thanks.
This is like the A-team in here right now. All these people. Just
Well,
so you know.
thank you so much, Tabutni, for listening to and sharing space with me. This has been really rewarding. So Tabutni for having me.
And thank you, Anna and San Miguel Resource. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
Well,